The truth about the Wendy Williams situation, cancelled, crazy, Coffin. What is up, winning team? And today we are going to be talking about Wendy Williams. And it's one of those stories that when I see it, it really, really stresses me out hearing these stories because I know exactly what's happening. And like watching the world be so stupid again is so frustrating because, of course, Wendy Williams all of a sudden has become like a prisoner and has had this situation and that. Why, might you ask? For the same reason it always happens in the entertainment industry. If you are come up against the powers that be in Hollyweird in any way, we know the system, the the 3-strike rule of the devil. Cancelled, crazy, Coffin. And I will never forget. And I remember when I saw this, it felt like it was a moment that I would never want to forget. And that's why I remember it, hence never forgetting it. And that was, I was watching, I don't know where this was, but I saw something about Wendy Williams. I saw a clip from Wendy Williams' show, or I saw the show, I don't know. I saw a clip from her show where she basically, or she was doing an interview, and she was talking about how the moment she spoke up about none other than Sean Diddy Combs, she all of a sudden started to have all these doors around her closed. Her show had to come down. She had to find somewhere else to live outside of New York because she could no longer afford to live where she was living. And of course, what happens when you go against the system? And there's a reason why I'm saying this for the greater public who really thinks that speaking up is worth it. You guys are deluded because you are not in the situation unless you have dealt with severely manipulative people. I'm not talking about just a jealous little best friend or something. I'm talking about people in places that have gatekeepers to opportunities and are the writers of blacklists. Those kinds of people, you don't just speak up against them and go to some fair judge on earth and get justice just because the justice system exists. The justice system should be called the injustice system. These people will make your life a living hell. So a lot of times the reason why people, and I get it, in the industry see things they don't speak up about, or you just see artists or like it could be musical artists, it could be actors, it could be whatever. They just fall away. And you think 5 years, 10 years later, like, I wonder what happened to so-and-so. This is why. This is exactly why. Because you don't go up against the system, because if you do, 3 strikes and you're out. Cancelled, crazy, Coffin. So first of all, you get cancelled. She had experienced all her cancellations. Now she's on the crazy. So the crazy has a couple of different things. Either you just get made up by the media to look crazy, by them always posting the worst things about you. A lot of times this is how they get people onto conservatorships, which we're going to talk about that as well coming up. But they get you onto some kind of way that you look insane through the media. Again, people talk about the paparazzi and the paparazzi need to leave them alone. The paparazzi is a key part of the industry. This is what I don't think people realize, because the paparazzi is the one that tells us, the people, because the powers of the people, so they have to control the narrative of what we believe, because what we believe is what allows them to do or not do what they don't or do want to do. That sounded so confusing to hear and even say. So what do I mean by that? I mean, again, I always use the example of Britney Spears, but this is the same story for Amanda Bynes. I've got playlists on both of them on my channel. You can go and watch at length to hear in detail what I'm talking about, right? What do they have to do in order to get away with all these conservatorships, in order to get away with taking over the money and all this stuff, right? What do they have to do? Convince the audience, convince the public, the jury of the sheeple, that this person is crazy. And this is the same thing we're seeing with Wendy Williams, right? So it's either the crazy in action, it's the crazy in, you're going to diagnose you. So we see this with the likes of Kanye, whatever. As soon as Kanye says anything, even if it's an observably true statement, right? Whatever, he's having an episode, we're going to slap a label onto you and give you some kind of mental disorder, so that as soon as you do anything against what we want, we're just going to also have us say that you're having an episode. And then the people who are not even involved, the jury of the sheeple who don't even get to see what happened behind closed doors, have this deluded sense of understanding that they now also know on the inside exactly what is or isn't happening. right? And oh, Kanye's just having an episode. People don't even let Kanye finish a lot of the time because they're like, oh, he's having an episode. I'm like, hear the guy out. Maybe he has something of value to say, but no. Why? You know why? Because you're in the second stage, in the crazy stage. You're crazy because you've been seen to do whatever, like with Britney Spears again. She was considered crazy because they're like, Britney was driving around. What was it? Was driving around crazily doing whatever. She went for a drive. She went for a drive like anybody would. Just enjoy going on a drive because you wanted to be out, you wanted to do whatever, listen to music in your car, whatever. She goes out on a drive. Oh my gosh, Britney's crazy. Britney goes out because Paris Hilton's like seeing that she's been through so much, wants to take her out, and one night asks her mum to look after her kids. She does go out, she does drink a lot, she comes back with, again, her mum, who is agreed to look after the kids for a few days by this point so that Britney can have a break. And next thing you know, her and her daddy, who likes to talk to TMZ so much, is here talking about Britney's got a problem with alcohol and Britney's got a problem with this. Same with Amanda Bynes and all these other things. But ain't nobody talking about any of that. No. Even Orlando Brown, everyone was saying he had issues and he was looking like this. All these different things with these. How many people in Hollywood are going to have to hear the same exact story before people wake the hell up? People like Amy Winehouse is another one. People knew she was on drugs and this, that, and the other. Why do you think all of that happened? Isn't it so interesting how there's now an Amy Winehouse movie since she's passed away, and who's making all the money off of what she did? And Michael Jackson. The list goes on, right? Cancel crazy. Now we're at Wendy Williams, the addiction, right? Or the whatever, oh, she's got a problem. She's just got a problem. We're just worried about, and again, they get you. This is the perfect thing. This is the devil's greatest strategy, is to get you to focus on like the symptom, not the problem. So the symptom could be that she is drinking, let's say, she's over drinking, whatever. But that's a symptom of a greater issue. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we're out here focusing, talking about, oh, Wendy Williams, she's just like this, she's just this, what do you call it? We're worried about her because she's been seen to have been drinking and she's been seen to have this. You should be worried about how she went from a woman who had an extremely successful channel and show to where she's at now. And you should be looking at the signs along the way and the correlation between, as soon as she started to speak up, as is the case with everybody, they get made out to sound like they're crazy. Cat Williams was the same thing, made out to seem like, what was he saying? This wild child, this wild whatever. Same exact thing. Liam Payne starts to make movements to show that he's potentially coming up against the entertainment industry. Next thing you know, Liam Payne is no longer with us. How many times are we going to have to see the same thing? And this is what I'm saying, that society doesn't actually learn anything. Society does not learn. And that's what's frustrated me so much about Wendy, because I feel for her. I was never a big fan of her show. I'm not somebody, as you guys know, I keep up with what I feel like is relevant for the sake of the winning team, for you guys to be able to share with you guys important things to think about, like what we're saying now, the Wendy Williams stuff, because I think it's important, you know. But I'm not really the type who just casually really enjoys knowing what's happening in the world, because again, that's just another trap of the kingdom of darkness, is to get us so obsessed with what's happening in the entertainment industry. It's a huge distraction. Like I was listening to podcast. I'm not going to say which podcast because I do actually like the podcast, and I don't want to seem like I'm critiquing the people, but it was just reminded me of the state of society. And it's like, you know how when all these events happen, it's the premiere of this movie, everybody has to go and see this movie. Who was seen on the red carpet? What were people wearing? Like, we care so much, and people know people's lives in detail. Well, Kylie Jenner was seen with Timothée Chalamet at the Grammys, but like she actually let Timothy sit with his mom, so that when he got the award, the first person that he would be able to hug was his mom. And I just thought that was so Kylie. Like, that was so Kylie to like have be so thoughtful, because she always just has been that Kardashian. Because I remember that episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians when it was I think it was the Met Gala in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. You know, the one where she wore the like blue swan dress that she got from Yves Saint Laurent. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that year. I remember when it was that. Like, it's like, how do you know all the details? But you have to, because this is what Hollywood feeds off of. This is what Hollyweird, they feed off of. All of that stuff I just said, I'm just making up an example. And that is an example of something I heard where I was thinking, are we really paying that much detail about Kylie Jenner didn't even sit next to Timothy so he could have his moment? And like, oh, Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber showed up together, and there was a whole argument because people were like, oh, is Justin not showing off for the Road Beauty premiere or launch or whatever, he came dressed as whatever. And other people like, no, but obviously he was going to be dressed like that because he didn't want to take away the shine from Hailey, because he's obviously, it's like, why are you so invested? And it's not even about why you're so invested. It's the fact that this is when you don't realize how your power is being manipulated. And you're being manipulated because you doing all of that and us knowing all these things about the celebrities, even the sports fans are the same. For those of you who are not into all the fashion stuff, the sports fans are the same. You know, there's men who can rattle off like the entirety of the scores of their favorite team for the last 8 years and who still can't even remember their own child's birthday, probably. No offense. That's not a dig. I'm just saying that as a society, we have put our attention onto these things. We give the power to these people, and then they use it against us. And then because of what we think and how what we think affects them, our viewpoint of everything matters. And that's what's bothering me about this Wendy Williams situation. No one's talking about all the things she said over the years. The whole narrative, and this is what they always do. This is what the devil is an actual expert at. Forget what came before. Focus on where you're at now. It's the same way that people in abusive relationships end up how abusers tend to talk. The abusers will love to be the this is now and that was then and this is now. You see this a lot in families where you have grandparents and how they treat their grandchildren completely differently. And this is one thing I will never be doing, by the way, myself. Let's learn the art of apologizing and having the balls to apologize. Because how pathetic do you have to be? And how much of a coward are you if you do not have the ability to apologize as a grown adult? If you can't do it, then you better not be sitting as judge and jury of nothing until you can grow yourself a ball sack. Thank you very much. But anyway, you see that with that where people are like, you could have gone through something. And this isn't something I'm going through, just so I want to be clear before people start saying, oh, whatever. This is not something I'm going through or I've gone through. People will have an issue with their own, people would have gone through an experience with their own parents, and then that parent was abusive to them. Then they have children, and for some reason, stupidly, in my opinion, it's stupidly, they allow them around the grandparents, right? The grandparents become a different person. And then if the person in the middle who still deserves to do the same exact healing and psychological work that we all need to do, tries to bring up the issues, the grandparent might not want to talk about it now because it's like, well, I've moved on. That's what they do in the entertainment industry. They get you to focus on the other thing so then you look bad. Because then even me using that as an example, people are going to be quicker to talk about why the person who was abused needs to get over it than the fact that the person who did the abusing needs to also hold themselves accountable, because that's the world we live in. We're in a world where as long as the devil, all he has to do is get us to focus on the latest narrative of whatever he's trying to do, because then when we take out the context, it's the same with Wendy Williams. Forget that she spoke up about how her life has changed and what was coming up against her as she tried to speak out. Forget all of the times that she was actually right about a lot of things. Forget how many times we've seen in the entertainment industry how these things happen. We all just go straight to the immediate piece of information that's in front of us. Oh, well, look where she is now. Oh, look at the state of how she is now. Oh, look at so-and-so has a drug problem. Oh, look at so-and-so needs to get their life together. But we don't talk about how they got there. We don't think about that. We just go with the narrative. And then that's all they need from us, because then they can do whatever they need to do. Because you guess what? You know what's going to happen? And Wendy Williams, God forbid, and I pray in the name of Jesus that the Lord will meet her and will help her out of this in Jesus' name. You know what will happen in worst case scenario? Something really bad happens. She ends up on the 3rd level, cancelled, crazy, Coffin, dead, right? And you know the world will say, oh, it's so sad we'd lost her. We just should, guys, if you're going through something, you should reach out. It's so sad that we lost her to her addiction or something. It's so sad that we lost her to that. That's what the world will say, because that's how the world is. Because that's how the devil made it. Because that's the script that he wrote. No one will be talking about the steps that came before. So when the snake comes to bite again and do the same exact thing all over again, we'll do the same process. We'll see what's happening. We'll see the lead up. We'll see everything. And we'll see what came before. We'll get distracted and just focus on the peripheral. The other day I was looking, even today, as I was preparing, because I say I like to try and update myself with the current affairs before I start filming, so that I'm actually somewhat aware of what's happening. I saw this girl's making a video talking about how inspired she was about Oprah Winfrey, and I was like, have we forgotten the part where Oprah Winfrey was seen in the Diddy tapes already? This is what I'm saying. We're so quick to act like we care as a society, but the truth is we don't. And the truth of the reason why we don't is because it's uncomfortable and it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to care because now we can't just tune into whatever. We have to think about how our time and attention is impacting the world that we're living in. So we can't just sit there and just watch and just turn a blind eye, or like with the R. Kelly thing and this whole concept of should we separate the art from the artist? The hell we should, because if we're supporting the art, we're supporting the artist. So all the people, for all the years, for all the decades, and how many years of people that contributed to the wealth of R. Kelly were contributing to his ability to be able to take advantage of all these different people. And guess who got affected again? Aaliyah ends up dead. Because why? Cancelled Crazy Coffin. And people knew that it was uncomfortable. People knew that it was inappropriate, but we just all turned a blind eye. This is what I'm saying. It happens every time. People see that, like you see it in the entertainment industry, in Disneyland, not in Disneyland, in Nickelodeon and stuff with the Dan Schneider. People knew what was happening. People were there. That's why, you know, the guy who plays, I always forget his name. It's so frustrating. But the guy who plays Spencer in, what's his name? The one who plays Spencer in iCarly. I can never remember his name, right? He was known to try and protect the kids on set to get in between them and Dan Schneider, right? Kind of like an older brother figure, like similar to his character on that show in particular. Why is there, with a whole set of however many people and however many adults there, how is Dan Schneider getting away with it? Because once again, everybody's turning a blind eye. And I swear I saw this guy the other day is now producing another movie anyway, Dan Schneider. Because again, this is how the devil works. It's just like how a manipulative person works. A manipulative person who's abusing you, especially an abuser, a lot of times they know what they're doing. So they'll let you have their little moment because in their mind, they're like, we'll just let you have your little tantrum. We'll just let you have your little upset, right? Because anyways, we're going to have to move past it. So if I can just ignore you for now, I can go back to the same tactics and get the same results in the future anyway. So I'm just going to endure this little moment of you speaking. So I get so upset about people talking about stuff in the entertainment industry for 5 minutes and then moving on and forgetting. Because that's what the devil's banking on. Everyone's going to be upset for 5 minutes. This is why they cool off. This is why they disappear. This is why they step down and they hide for like 6 months with all the riches and power that you gave them. So all they have to do is go and move out to Hawaii for 6 months. Living the life goal. Maybe better yet, this is why they all were flying to Epstein Island for the meantime, or whatever. Fly off to Epstein Island, fly off to wherever, just so that they can let the things cool off, let the media cool off, let the jury of the sheep will forget, so we can move on to the next thing. And then the next time the snake is right back in that same garden, you ain't even noticed. Because again, just like with Adam and Eve, you don't look at who's the real issue there, which is the snake. You look at the other things that are around and blame them. And then we play tit for tat. We play it's your wrong, it's your wrong. Just like I was saying just now about the Hailey Bieber thing. You're noticing how not only are you guys the people pawns in that game, so is Hailey, so is Justin. That's who we're going to talk about next. And it's all for the people who want to make money. So you're out here overthinking what's going on between these celebrities, spending money to be at their events, buying products because they made them or because they promote them. The celebrities are out here encouraging the worship of them and encouraging you to do things that support them so they can maintain their position. Also, they can be made money for a very small group of people who are benefiting. The rest of us are just pawns in the game. And that's why it's cancel Crazy Coffin. The devil, use, abuse, destroy. That's it. That's the strategy. You get used, then abused, and then, I should say dispose. Then you're disposed of. Whether that's you just fall into the background because you decide to give up your career in that area, whether it's because you decide to, so that's like a Jeanette McCurdy, especially because her issue wasn't with the industry, so the industry doesn't mind her making it about her parents. Because as long as it's not about the devil, he doesn't mind. Just like with Adam and Eve, as long as it's not about the snake, as long as none of us are ever talking about the snake, right? We're never talking about not the snake, the serpent. So it's not a problem. As long as we're talking about everything other than him, right? And interestingly enough, Eve was the only one to even think, you know what? It was actually the serpent that told me. You know what I'm saying? And I think in that moment, having realized that she was being deceived. Yeah. That's the point, ladies and gentlemen. And so I just want to also add that in here, because people are always like, oh, look at what Eve did, especially us women in our period periods. Look at what Eve did. You are Eve. We're all Eve every day. We're all Eve every day, being deceived by the kingdom of darkness, being deceived by that serpent that is Satan, thinking that we know what we're talking about, utilizing our power poorly. Because as I've said before, and I'll say it again, whoever controls what you think controls what you do. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, if life is a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.